Hello, everyone. This is Raovake doing another Exodus Games community podcast. This is our second one doing this. We already have 4 members that joined right off the bat, and so I am very happy about that. Again, we deal with making different mods for Ark. Our main one that we are currently working on is Stargate Evolution. We do have some other ones that we've worked on before, Balanced Kibble and Balanced Narcotics. I am also myself starting to learn the Arc Dev Kit, so I'm gonna start trying to make things after I get familiarized with it enough. But enough about me. We're going to jump into the Ask the Community Manager channel like we did last time, and we're gonna cover those questions first since they're already posted. Okay, so uh, Mando, I'm going to shorten it. First, I'd like to apologize for missing the community Q&A. Second, in the video, you mentioned wanting to add different weapons to the mod, but has the team considered adding in different armors like Jaffa armor or armor skins like SGC uniforms? Um, yes, we have considered it, and it's not like we're not going to. We just haven't gotten to it yet. But when I mentioned the weapons, it was more of just an example of some other things we were planning to incorporate and add into it. But yes, armor skins. We are going to continue to add a few more of the Jaffa armor helmet skins like we have already. So we are going to have more in there for that. We do want to have actual armors, not just skins as well. The main thing has been figuring out the animations on the character models, and that's been the main tricky part because we don't really have somebody that directly works with animations like that. So the short answer is yes, we do plan to do that. Um, Harbinger, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He's got several questions. The first one is, will you add locations we can visit similar to how other Stargate mods, which the only one that I know that did that was Stargate Worlds mods have done. For example, there was a fish village and a temple where we were able to go. So wondering if you guys would do things like that, or maybe possibly getting the source code to those things. I did respond quickly in a channel when this was first posted that there's not really a way to get the source code. The developer that was making all of this has been basically MIA, it just gone since like 2018. So unless there's some way to connect with him, there's no way to get the source code. Um, and we do want to add in map extensions because that's what this would be. These would come in as a map extension instead of added in as Stargate Evolution. We don't currently have anybody that works with maps or map extensions or anything like that. So we do want to do stuff like that, but don't get me wrong. We do want to do maps. We do want to do map extensions. But we don't currently have anybody that actually has the skill set that would be needed for it. If anybody knows anyone that does have those skills, that would be helpful in creating things like this. Um, we do want to do it. So if we can get there, then we'll get there. But unless we can find somebody that knows how or we learn it, it'll be a very far way off. The second question he has is, when will the SGU Destiny Gate make it to the mod? Any sneak peek? We do have a spoilers channel, but that is for patrons. Um, they get early access to view it things. We do have the models and the textures set up, not only in our dev kit, but also into the mod. They're not as the full blown actual dialing gates. They are the little like mini models. So that stuff is in, and it is mostly functioning for that degree, the cosmetic wheel turning, the spinning of it and whatnot. But we will be adding them as um, an update that comes soon after the Gate Overhaul. The Gate Overhaul deals with the Milky Way Gate and its DHD and the main core features that are going to be added or changed. SGU Gate will be coming in a smaller update that is added in right after. Not right, but close enough. We will also, in regards to a new gate, we will also be adding in the Orland Gate after the Gate Overhaul as well. As for timeline, if I am correct on the conversations I've had with Astrolam before, we are around 70 to 80% completed with the Gate Overhaul. He's taking a bit of a break right now to handle various things, and he did some serious work all in a straight line. So he's gotten a bit of a break from it. But I sadly cannot give an ETA on when even part 1 will be released. But the SGU gate will be coming after the Gate Overhaul. The Gate Overhaul Part 1 is, again, from the last time I talked with him, mostly completed for Part 1. Number 3, will you add things like Destiny Shuttle and the Puddle Jumper to the mod at some point? Short answer, at least for Puddle Jumper is confirmed. We will be adding that. It's just a matter of when and who's going to be doing the most coding for it. Right now, Astrolam is our only real coder for the graph work. So he's doing the gates. And then it'll be like the rings overhaul or whatever. The puddle jumper would take a lot of graph work with all the different things it can do, like dialing gates, shields, cloak, its weapons. The thing that would make vehicles or ships difficult is, like I mentioned with the armor skins and armors, is the animations for it. The puddle jumpers got some decent animations with the back door opening and the tripods opening and closing. But yes, we will be adding in different ships. We have, if I remember right, there's at least 5 different ones we have the models ported into the dev kit for. I'm not going to list them all, but we do have the puddle jumper. Number 4, Stargate series creatures planned or more structures. Creatures are kind of up in the air. We do have some things kind of going around, but creatures are, since that would deal with a lot of animations, again, that would be a lot further out than what we're currently doing. More structures, I do know that we have more structures that are planned. I don't think it's the correct stage in development to really say what the structures are, but I do know that we have more structures that will be coming. So I know that we've got more stuff coming than just the gates and just the ring overhaul and just puddle jumper and armor and weapons and whatnot. We do have more coming. I'm going to butcher this name, and I am very sorry for that. Skull Balka? I hope I said that right. He's got a question. Do you know if cross-travel through Stargates could work? That's probably the most requested feature, and that's also probably the hardest feature that we would ever try to implement. Cross-travel itself would be difficult because we would have to add in a whole new extra UI tab, and we would have to add in extra code that would be similar to the transmitter. Now, the hard part is I know a lot would want us to be able to dial to a specific gate, and we're not sure how we would explore even doing travel with a Stargate. Um, there are several different ideas that have been submitted and different things that we've kind of just thrown around. There's the possibility of using cluster ID folders. Like if you have a cluster of 7 servers, you might try to use the information in that folder to get things tied together. There's also the possibility of using an API of some sort to do something like that, or have like a backend server or whatnot. The backend server stuff is way over my head. Most of the stuff with cross travel would be way over my head. There's a few different ways of trying it. It's not something we can guarantee at any level. We're not even sure if it could work or how we would get it to work. Because if we most likely, best case scenario, if we could get it to work, would be you use one gate and you dial to a server, but it's unless we can figure out a way to tie it to a specific gate on the other server, it would basically just show up the normal the normal spawning menu for a bed or spawn points. That's probably the best we would be able to do, but again, I don't know the graph stuff, I don't know the code stuff or how API or any of that works. So it could be better than that, it could be worse. That's probably the middle ground for it though. So um so yeah, that's about where that would land, sadly. Uh probably going to probably maybe going to butcher this one. Ninja Chi. Uh, yeah, maybe Ninja Chi. I don't know. Any plans for SG1 uniforms and weapons, skins and gear? We do have again with the uniforms. We do want to add in a lot of the uniforms and whatnot of not just SG1. We also are likely going to see about adding in SGA, SGU, some of the different aliens. So we've got a lot that we want to do, and we also for uniforms or weapons and stuff, if we don't have the model for it, it'll be a lot harder and a lot longer to do anything, because then we'd have to get some way to get those made, and we don't currently have somebody that does that. We don't have someone that makes models. So anything that we can't, in a sense, port from like um, Gary's mod, Stargate, Carter Pack, or whatever, that we're gonna struggle to get in because we don't have somebody that makes models. As for weapons, we do have several models and textures that we can get in with weapons. The main thing's animations. One thing we are going to be working on, and that's I think coming after the Gate Overhaul, is the GDO, the garage door opener. Pretty sure I mentioned this just a little bit in the last podcast, but that should help with the whole, oh, I landed on the front end of an iris, and so now I'm dead and all my stuff's gone, because an iris will do that. So one of the things we will be adding in the future is a GDO, where you can open and close your irises, in a sense, more remotely. And we've got some ideas with that to make sure that a different tribe can't mess with your stuff. So it's not like they'll be able to take your GDO and or know your code and dial in or whatever. We're gonna have some security measures for that we were discussing and planning out. Okay, now that we have those handled that are already been posted, now I can open up the floor to new questions that are asked on the fly. And we already lost somebody. Let's see here. First question, of course, is Shigoki. Okay, so accepted, invite sent. You'll have to, there you go.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Good evening. Good
Good
evening,
evening.
or rather, good morning,
Morning. Yes,
depending
morning
on
for me.
when you're watching this or hearing this. So, following question. We did talk a little bit about what's coming in the Gate Overhaul in the last podcast, but there's one question that I have seen while talking to some people, and that is, do we have a list somewhere that lists all the things that are coming in part 1 and the things that are coming in part 2? Does a list like this exist, or do you plan to make a list like that available somewhere?
There, it was partially a list was not like a visual list, but a list was in sense partially made during the last podcast when a lot of the stuff was coming up and the Gate Overhaul kind of showcase. So there is some information there. There is not currently a visual list that's been made that details it, that has been, in a sense, released to the public just yet. Uh, us developers or staff have a kind of rudimentary list that we were kind of working on, and that was mostly covered in the Gate Overhaul showcase. But a list can be made, and I don't know if everything is going to be added into the list. Pretty sure I mentioned in the last one that I am slowly getting back into working on different information aspects, like the Google Docs for all of our information. I don't know if it's been noticed or not, but I have added more things into the roadmap one on the at least the suggestions area, and I'm going to be slowly moving things from confirmed or to confirmed or denied, and adding things into in development or completed or whatever. So that is going to be getting worked on as well, and I can also set up a list for what's coming for at least part 1, because part 2 I don't know everything about that one yet. Part 1's a little bit more fleshed out in a sense.
Yeah, but it would help if you had a list that you could just redirect people to say, yeah, this is what you can expect with the next big update, which will be the part 1 of the Gate Overhaul.
Yeah. I'm thinking of making either a new Google Doc or adding a tab to the roadmap one for detailing. Okay, so this is the stuff that's going to be coming in the next major one. Basically the big patch notes. So I've been thinking about that for a little while, but my attention's been kind of divided on a bunch of different things. Did you
Okay.
have a follow up for that or anything?
Well, there was one thing that I was talking about with a German-speaking user. It was about the cross travel, and maybe I mention it here in the podcast just for reference, in case anybody else was wondering. That user I talked to, he had the idea that if you're going to make cross travel, would it be possible to create a set gate address that you have to dial? And if you dial this address, as soon as you step through the event horizon of your gate, you get the menu that opens whenever you interact with a tech transmitter or an obelisk that lets you upload items and transfer servers. Would it be possible to do that? That was his questions. You and I, we talked a little bit about this before the podcast,
Perhaps not to that exact example. But if something like that was set up, then for like a specific gate, then it could in theory be something similar, but it may not be to that exact example. Again, I don't really know how all of that would work. A lot of what I can guess is mostly like speculation for it, or just the short conversations about different ideas that somebody's mentioned, or just the short little things that I've talked to with others that have dealt with something similar.
Yeah, but anyway, any form of cross travel will be a long, long time away for now, as you have focused on other things that are
Yes, cross
uh,
travel sadly will be a
easier
lot
to do.
further out because it would be a very daunting task. Very daunting task. Okay,
Oh, okay.
Mando's got a question, so let's go ahead and
I'm a bit
invite
quiet.
to speak. Yeah, I don't know how to turn off the. Yeah, I don't know. Moved. Okay, moved audience. That works. Invite to speak.
But my question was, so in the description for the ancient gene, it says that you're gonna trigger certain ancient technologies to requiring having the ancient gene. Other than the puddle jumper, what technologies are you planning on adding to the game that would require that?
Yes, first time that's actually been pointed out. For example, mini drones. Um, the ancient chair, I believe, are both things that are going to be in the long run going to be added along with the puddle jumper. And then I don't remember off the top of my head if there was anything else that needed the ancient gene, but even if we created a few things or just set up things that were already that we've already got assets for, like the mini drone station and the puddle jumper and the ancient chair, those are the three main things that come to mind. But I don't know if we're gonna come up with anything on of a Stargate nature that isn't exactly canon. I don't know if because we've not discussed any of that, but we are planning on adding at least a few things that the ancient gene is going to be needed for. And the main three that I can think of is going to be the puddle jumper, the mini drone station, and the ancient chair.
Okay, so my follow up to that would be you already have the PDA in the game in the mod, and it appears to be modeled after the handheld device from Stargate Atlantis. Would you add needing the gene to operate that?
That's not something we've actually discussed yet. Currently, it's basically just kind of a remote Stargate controller. Um, it's not currently functioning as like a life science detector like it was in canon. Um, so that's actually not something that I know an answer to. I can't say yes, I can't say no, because it's not something that has come up before. It is something that I can talk with Drake and Astro on and see how they would want to approach that idea, and see if it was possible to possibly expand the utility of that item to anything beyond just dialing the gates. Like if we, for example, added in a custom UI that instead of the gates, where it was like some kind of life signs detector within a, I don't know, a 30 foundation range or something.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's something that would take communication and a conversation with both of them.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to hearing back on that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Not sure when I'll be able to connect to them. Both of them have been pretty busy doing other things lately. So
Not to worry there. I
it
mean,
might
you
take
guys are
some
doing a
time.
great job.
What was that? It cut out.
So you guys are doing a great job with this. Take all the time you need to do it right, and obviously work around your guys' schedules. I just wanted to throw the ideas out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where Astro is at, but Drake is in England area, and I'm at West Coast, West Coast, United States. So he's about 8-9 hours difference from me.
That makes it fun.
Yeah, it's a bit. It's interesting to try to communicate between each other. Looks like Shigoki's got another question to ask. Let's accept. Well, invite to speak.
Yeah, I'd like to hop in on that question of the ancient gene. Just from a perspective of lore, the PDA would actually, as it is an Pegasus technology, it would require the ancient genes, and you could consider it an upgrade to using the DHD, since you can dial the gate even if you're not close enough to the DHD yet, or while you're moving. Basically, like one guy is flying the dinosaur, the other guy is dialing the gate on the PDA or stuff like this. And from that perspective, I think it would make sense to at least make it optional to have the PDA requiring the ancient gene, so you don't need to use the DHD.
I can especially see the option for it. I don't remember myself an instance where the PDA was used to actually dial a gate in canon. I do know the Kino remote did, but I don't remember when the PDA did. I could just not be remembering it.
I'm not sure if the PDA actually dialed the gate in any episode, but the PDA itself is ancient technology and requires the gene. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm saying it should. If you're going that far to say the ancient gene is required for a certain technology.
Yeah, it's
That
just
or
not
you
something that we've discussed before. And we can bring it up and we can say, okay, are we going to do this? Are we going to make it an option? Are we going to make it a requirement? There's just a few different ways to tackle that. We do want to make the mod as close to canon as we can. And I would personally say at least having the option to have it enabled as a requirement. Because I do like having things set up as admin options because I run servers as well instead of just running like the community manager side of Exodus games. So I know how admins for like an Arc server are going to feel about a lot of different things, and so I push for a lot of different INI options. But yeah, so that is definitely something that we can discuss and see which direction we want to go with it. But beyond that, since we've not discussed it yet, I can't really say if we're going to or not.
Yeah, but at least it's something that can be considered. And
Yeah.
I mean, we can do some research about what the PDA actually can do and cannot do. And if you want to go as close to the lore as possible, you can say if the PDA can't dial gates, you can remove this ability from the PDA at a later point once the thing can do the things that it actually could do, and create another item that can dial the gates. That is canon.
Yeah, I think once we get the Kino remote in, since that could dial gates, that could do rings and what, well, maybe do rings. At least that could in Gary's mod. Then that might be the point on when it diverges from the PDA, but that's so far out. We've not discussed any of that yet. So, does Mr. John Wick have a question? Just silently listening. I just want to make sure that I answer any and all questions that anybody has that I can get any kind of input from. Okay, Mando. There we go. Invite to speak.
Yeah, so, again, looking at way long-term stuff here, has there been any consideration on putting like ruins, gold and ancient ruins? Since that was kind of the big point of the Stargates, they were going out and exploring these ruins and these ancient cities and stuff. I mean, Ark, the island already has some ruins there, but is there, any plans on doing something with that to make it a little bit more lore friendly for the Stargate side of it?
Okay, so a couple of questions I have in response. Are you referring to ruined buildings that players can build? Or are you referring to closer to like what Stargate Worlds did, and they had the temple ruins and they had the fish village with making map extensions?
Yeah, see, I never played that mod, so I don't really know how they did things. I was more thinking of things, ruins that were randomly spawned into the map to, players could go and explore and interact with.
Okay, so those aren't really random. They were specifically designed in those locations. Um, Random would be like if you used simple spawners and told something to spawn globally, then that would be random. But the ruins were designed and placed. If we did something like that, I would either have to be a whole new map that we added them to, or if we used map extensions and added them to any of the maps that were official, and not necessarily like only the paid ones. Any of the free ones that were official too, like Crystal Isles now, we would be able to make a map extension for. If we had someone that knew how to do the map extension stuff, then we could start designing different ruins, temples, or whatever, or different levels, however all of it works, and setting up different things like that. If, again, like I mentioned, one of the previously made questions, the difficulty is that we don't have someone that knows how to do map extensions. We don't have anybody that has the skill set for that yet. But it's not an idea we're opposed to or anything. We just don't have the personnel for it.
No, it makes a lot of sense that, you got to have the right kind of specialty to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, we don't have the team. We don't have a team member for it, and so it's like, how do we do this kind of thing? And so we're working on what we do know, and what we do know how to work on, and how to make it. And that's part of why I'm trying to learn some things. Um, and I've had a short conversation with Astro. He's gonna see about teaching me some different things with the dev kit, and we're gonna kind of document it if excuse me, if my computer, if my laptop can actually handle running the dev kit and recording it and screen sharing to him. We're actually going to see about maybe making in a sense, tutorial series and documenting as me learning the kit. Like he would be an instructor and have me, and I would learn the kit, and it would be documented and recorded, the process through and how different things work and what kind of things you need to do or not do. So then maybe it can show a little bit of how difficult learning the dev kit is and using the dev kit is, and then any of the extra stuff.
Okay. And at this point in the video, put a selfless plug on advertising for team members.
Okay, so any other questions for um, the podcast?
That was all the ones I had.
This could be a short one.
Yeah, could be a short one. Do you
If
have?
John Wick is not.
Yeah, John Wick. Do you have anything you want to ask?
So, while he's trying to solve his mic issue, I have been looking up what the PDA actually can do and it can't dial gates. However, I found out that McKay in one episode used it to blow up ZPMs.
Of course he did.
Yes. He also used it to locate energy sources. So, even though it is primarily a life sign detector, he used it to locate things that are not life signs.
Yeah, if you rewire it enough or change it enough, it should be able to do other things. Yeah, it seems that it's on your end. If you want to, John, if you have any questions, you can edit that message you just put in as the community manager and post them there, and I can read them and answer them that way if that works for you. Okay. Question from John Wick. Appreciate it. Mostly just wanted to say thanks to you and the team for all you've been doing and keeping us informed. Most of my questions were already asked and answered, so the only question I have left is finding new team members with the required skills for things like animations, map extensions, etc. a priority. And as a server owner, I also appreciate the INI options. It is a priority. And I did end the last podcast with going over the not job list. I renamed it. What did I rename it to? Join the team and applications info. I went over those two channels, and I don't have like an application thing set up for all of them yet. But getting getting a team member for animations and getting a team member for map extensions is a priority, and it's not easy to do because since Stargate is something that's like trademarked, uh the other or the ARC modding community won't let us, in a sense, advertise trying to get a team in there, and they've got like thousands of people that are devs or mods or whatever, mod makers in there, and so we can't pull from that resource because we're doing a mod that's, in a sense, trademarked, and we can't. It's just really annoying. So it's difficult to try to get somebody on the team since we're working on this particular mod for anything besides who we've already got. Animations, map extensions, and models are the main three kinds of devs that we need. So if anybody knows anybody that is a UE4 Arc Dev Kit whatever person for models, animations, and map extensions, those are who we need. Those three. And yes, I push very, very heavily for INI settings, and sometimes to the point where it's like, okay, there's too many settings now. You're being a little crazy, dude. Like, yes, I push for settings very strongly because I run servers and I know how important the INI options can be. So,
People
yeah.
like to customize everything.
Yeah, people like to customize everything, and even if you're just doing single player, you can still customize stuff. And there are several INI options that we are working on that's not been released yet, and other ones we are kind of coming up with that we haven't mentioned because they don't deal with the Gate Overhaul. So there are others that we are planning to add in the future that we already kind of came up with, but haven't mentioned because it's not the current update. And if you need to, you can just add anything extra in as a second paragraph if needed unless your timer's over. Okay. Got it. I know on my end the work you are doing and have done already is amazing, and this mod is actually what brought me back to ARC. Please give my thanks and regard to the dev team we have for all their hard work. Yes, thank you. We probably put a lot of time and effort in just making things look good, let alone work good. It's from what I've seen in the conversations I have had with Astro and Drake, it's not always easy to get things to go the way you want them to. For example, in the current gate overhaul we are working on, the Milky Way gate animations are still pretty wonky. They act normal. Well, they work proper when you're using fast dial, but that's if you have them not if you don't have fast dial on. There's some weird timing issues that still need to get worked out, and we're aware of it. For why am I not getting the word correctly? For speed's sake, since it's been so long since we've actually had an update out of any kind of actual content, we are likely going to wait on those tiny little visual issues until part 2 of the gate overhaul, just so it can come out a little sooner. We've already got the base of all of that done. Excuse me. We've already got the majority of that stuff done. There's just a lot of smaller things to work on and fix. I would say part 1 of the gate overhaul is at least 3/4 finished. There's still some stuff to work on. Part 2 is going to be the more grueling stuff, because we've done the more grueling code reworks and code overhauls already for part 1, for letting the Pegasus and Milky Way gate be able to dial each other. So that stuff's already done. They should dial together okay. It's not in beta. It's not even into beta yet, so it's not like I myself can test anything besides what is shown in the Arc Dev Kit in the Gate Overhaul showcase. So we've been really trying to work at stuff. So if that's wrapped up for everyone, did you have something you wanted to add, Mando? I'll toss you back up. I just popped back in and saw the hand, and then it disappeared quickly. Okay, invite sent. There you go.
Okay. It could have waited until the next one, but since you're talking about the overhaul, earlier you mentioned an overhaul for the ring system. Any sneak peek you can give us on that?
Not really a sneak peek necessarily, because not really anything's been done yet. I can discuss some of it. Like for example, for the ring overhaul, you're not gonna have to have a giant ring hub anymore in your base. Mentioned that briefly in the last podcast. So how the rings currently work is they basically work either by the closest or whatever is named to match. Like if you have one ring named Alpha and another one named Alpha, those two will be the only ones that can go between each other, or it's the closest. For the ring overhaul, that is going to change. You're going to be able to, in a sense, dial the ring in a similar way you dial the gate. The keypads, the Goa'uld and whatnot keypads are going to be added in with that area of updates as well. You will then be able to use one ring in your base and dial any other ring that is within range. Um, I don't know if we plan to make rings need power. That I don't think that's been something discussed. But the other thing that's been discussed is that the rings will get their own kind of UI system, their own custom UI as well, similar to what the gates have. So it'll be a much more upgraded version of what either of them currently have. The new
Okay.
version of the gates will get updated and upgraded as well. Even with the UI, you'll notice some UI differences for after the overhaul. So the rings are going to get an overhaul with a UI. You're not going to need a giant hub anymore, and so yeah,
Okay.
there is some things to look forward to for the rings as well.
So you talked about adding um the gold keypads for operating the rings. Now, are you also going to add in the wrist devices that they often use in the show to activate them?
Those have not been discussed yet. Are you referring to the gold ribbon hand devices?
Yes, and then sometimes the Jaffa have an extra little wrist thing that they put on their bracers that they also use as a button to activate them.
I think at least for the ribbon device, I'm not sure if we're gonna have it as a ring thing as well. It's not something that's been discussed, but since we're trying to add in most things and have most things be canon, I would take a gander and a guess and say that we're going to try to do something similar, since that would essentially operate perhaps the same way that the PDA would currently for the gates, but instead of maybe it being on the hotbar, it might be on the armor slot. I don't know if it's going to be like a tool on the hotbar, or if it'll be like arm weapon, actual like on the arm or anything like that. So, but I don't see why that wouldn't be at least discussed or attempted for using the ribbon device or the device that the Jaffa had.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it.
Anybody's got anything else before I do the closing? Okay, so again, I am Raovake, the community manager for Exodus Games, and this is the Exodus Games Community Podcast number 2. We've done one a couple weeks ago. I'm going to be changing the days and the times of each one. The days is Monday through Sunday. It could be any of those. The times are either going to be 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., 3 p.m., or 5 p.m. And it's going to be um, in GMT -8 or Pacific Standard Time is when I have things set up to run, because that's the time zone I am in. So we're going to close this up. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Shigoki, John Wick, Mando, thank you for joining me. Thank you for giving some good questions that I can answer, giving me things that I can try to take to the dev team to get a follow-up on at some point. You guys are our heart and what we strive to be the best for. If anybody has any suggestions, feedback, or even any new questions for the next one, feel free to post them in the correct locations in the Discord server or otherwise. Again, this is Raovake from Exodus Games signing off. Thank you for joining us.